Hello all, welcome back to Be a Creative. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I am going to be gel plating with some of the new Dina Wakley gloss spray paints. As soon as I saw her premiere these, I was basically like, I have to have all of them and I want to put them on my gel plate. That's primarily what type of art I do. 80% of everything I do comes off that gel plate. As you can see, it's really dirty and it's well loved. We'll actually talk about cleaning up after that in just a little bit. I thought it would be fun to use some OG Dina Wakley stencils with her brand spanking new products. I spent a lot of time on the internet hunting down those old stencils of hers, and I'll put a link below to the place that I got them if you're interested. I'm new to Dina Wakley, so I didn't have a lot of her old stuff, and I just really liked them. Not that I need to justify my purchase. Okay, so as we go along, I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks that I learned while doing this process with you. And the first thing I wanted to do was just see what type of pull I could get. That's one of her white tags that she came out with, I believe last year. And you can see the color is really vibrant. That's one of the Distress Manila tags, and it looks better on the white. This, however, was actually just a plain old piece of copy paper, and you can see it bleed through, but the color, I think, actually looked the best out of all of them. Plus, because the gloss is just amazing. So now we're going to try it again with a few different colors, and Dina had suggested in one of her videos that these work best with stencils that have large open spaces. I wasn't thinking about that when I chose these masks. Oh, there's the second tip. The overspray on this is legit. If you have a poncho or a tarp, I would suggest putting that down. It's serious. Like that, the overspray went everywhere, and it was a mess even for me, and I'm a messy crafter. So just be conscious of that. That would be tip number 2. They are really wet, which, that's obvious. They're spray paints. They're nothing at all like her heavy bodied acrylics. So I found that by kind of lightly kissing the paper to the gel plate, I would get a much crisper image than if I went in all heavy-handed like I normally do when I'm using the acrylics. See, that one turned out really nice, and all I really did was just lightly kiss it. So after I used the ink, it's not ink, after I used the paint that was on top of the stencils, now I'm going back in to see what type of a pull I can get from what was underneath. And you can see I actually picked up most of the spray paint from that first pull. Now I'm going in with some fuchsia, and I believe that is cheddar. Yeah, because that's one of my favorite color combinations. And I'm trying the same thing again, and see, I'm actually picking up most of the paint off of the top of that stencil and the surrounding area. But it's really pretty. The gloss is just, it's just amazing. Like, the color contrast is so nice against the matte acrylic paint, as we'll see in a minute. I'm sorry, I'm trying really hard not to make this like art porn. It could very easily spiral into that. I apologize if this becomes X-rated. That is one of my favorite pulls. They're just great. The way that one, not so much, but the way that they layer over top of each other they're wonderful. That would actually bring me to tip number 4. Is this 4? I don't know. Nobody keep count. Don't worry about that. Make sure that they're dry though. And I did notice that they took quite a while to dry, but that's also probably because of where I live. I live in Virginia, and it's winter here. So while the humidity isn't bad, I don't know what that was. That was crazy. It looked like something. It's a good thing I do voiceovers. If you guys had heard me when I actually pulled that. Anyway, the humidity here isn't that bad right now in the wintertime, but it still took a really long time to dry. Now I wanted to see if I could get some texture, just like how I do with my heavy-bodied acrylics. And this was actually really interesting. The bubble wrap worked really well to lift the spray paint, But as you can see, when I went in to actually try to pick up that left behind texture, not so much. But it's still really pretty, and that's probably one of my top 3. That one too. You know what? I just liked all of them. They all just came out really, really well. I wasn't disappointed. So after I played around with that, I wanted to see what would happen if I put a little bit of water down. And you can see that the paper slipped. And it gave this really nice watercolor effect. I was also hoping that I'd be able to clean it a little bit with that. That did not work. Now I'm trying them out with her heavy-bodied acrylics. I believe that is Peacock. I tried to use the same colors that I was using in the sprays, so that way things wouldn't get like all crazy. And now I'm just doing regular gel plate business, going about my regular gel plate business here. This is just something that I like to do so I don't waste any of the paint. I like to just kind of, you know, take the top of the stencils and use them on tags and my art journals and stuff like that. But the paint is drying rather quickly now. I don't know what that was about, some weird law of physics. And this is where I think the magic happens, when you combine the gloss sprays with the acrylic paint, because the pulls that I'm going to get, look at that. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. That got a little dirty. I apologize. But look at this one. This one is just beautiful. Like, there's just this amazing sense of satisfaction from it. It's like I need a cigarette afterwards. God. Anyway, so this is where I think that on the gel plate, I don't know that I would use them by themselves so much, but couple them with her heavy-bodied acrylics, and it's just magic. It's a match made in heaven. Dina Wakley, you're like Cupid, which is appropriate because Valentine's Day wasn't too long ago. I digress. I'm just trying to pick up some of that paint, and because the sprays are so liquidy, it also kind of thinned out some of her heavy-bodied acrylics, and the effect kind of reminded me of what happens when you use her scribble sticks with her heavy-bodied acrylics. It gives much of that same loose watercolor type effect, and I particularly enjoy that. If that's not your bag, then, you know, don't do that. So I'm going back in with, that's Lemon, I believe, and that is Ocean in her gloss spray paints for one more time, just because I was so impressed with the effect that it gave. Like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like too much of a process to pull out my scribble sticks and all of the paints and everything and having to wet them, and this just kind of really simplified that, and I just loved the look of it. It was just really nice. I don't really have any complaints about them, except maybe that overspray. And I guess now would be the time to talk about how to clean. Clean quickly. That's the best advice I can give you. Don't let the sprays dry on your gel plate, because at the end of this session, I really couldn't get them up. I'm probably going to have to go in with some baby oil and some of that mineral thing. And here I am actually trying to do a pull to see if it will work like when you do a pull with acrylics. I've put a thin coat of acrylic paint down, and I'm hoping that it's going to lift all of that dried spray paint, and it did not, as you can see. I even went back and here I am trying with some white, maybe thinking if I try a different brand of paint that's a little bit thinner, that might work a little bit better, and it just didn't. So the biggest advice I could give you is clean quickly, clean often, and put a tarp down. Don't let it dry on your gel plate. It took probably about 20 minutes of me cleaning that glass media mat with acetone to get all of that spray paint off. And I know you're not supposed to clean it with acetone, but I do it in a well ventilated area, and I also work a lot with epoxy, so I'm familiar with acetone. It is also the only thing that will clean up all my dried paint, because I am really bad about cleaning as I go and will let my paint dry on my media mat. So don't be me. Anyway, let's take a look at all of the prints that were made from our little gel printing session. You know, I really liked these. Not that anyone has asked for my opinion, but, you know, it's the internet, so I'm going to give it. I like these. I think they're well worth the money and the investment. If I had one complaint, it would be the overspray, because it's just, I don't know, it was everywhere. So take off all your jewelry, wear a poncho and put a tarp down, and just be prepared that you're going to get really messy. If I had another, it's not really a complaint, it would be a request, bigger bottles. I can see myself going through these really quickly, especially that white. Now we're going to make the tag that I featured in my thumbnail. And I'm going to use that white gloss spray paint again because I want to see if it will cover like how I think it's going to cover now that the tag is actually properly dried. It's completely dried. It's been sitting there for about 30 minutes. And it did not let me down. The white, the coverage is amazing. Though I do wind up getting a little super messy because I didn't really think this through when I put everything down. And in the time it took me to do this, the paint dried on my fingers and on the matte, media matte. Oh, but it's so pretty. Oh, look at it. Oh, it's so pretty. It was worth it. Anyway, I am going to use some of those OG Dina Wakley stamps that I just got. I was super excited to find them, and stamp them on some of her collage paper with Stays On because I was so inspired by the font in Art and Love that's what really like motivated me to make this tag. I was thinking of Bette Midler in the 70s, singing in like one of those New York underground jazz rooms. I don't know, that's what I was thinking of when I saw that, and I was like, I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. Anyway, so I'm going to add a little bit, just a little bit of background stamping because I don't want to cover up the background that I made with the sprays. It was just so pretty. And I actually think that the Stays On came out a little bit darker, or maybe it looks brighter against the gloss. I don't know. I noticed a difference, but I love it. I love the gloss. It was just, oh, it was just amazing. So now I'm going to just glue this down. I'm sure you saw that was coming. And using some gel medium. You guys also may have noticed that I didn't have a video last week. I apologize for that. I got hung up with a research project with school and basically had like an academic existential crisis. At one point I was eating chocolate chips out of a bowl like it was cereal, and I just did not have time to do a video. So I apologize for that, and we'll try to get back to my regular weekly schedule. Anyway, I am taking a page from Inky Fairy Design at this point. I saw this in one of her videos, and I'll put a link to that below. She took that Dina Wakley stamp set and uses the wings, I mean as wings, like that's what they are, but she coupled them with another one of Dina's stamps, like I'm on a first name basis with Dina. I'm totally not. That one, I don't know the name of that stamp set. When I have a really busy background, I like to just stamp right on white cardstock and then not add anything to it. So that's what I'm going to do to finish off this tag with the focal point. I've cut out both, and the wings were stamped on another gel plated tag, just like Inky Fairy did. Again, it's a great video. You guys should totally check it out. So I'm just cutting out her little armpit area with my what is that called? An X-Acto knife, I think. Anyway, and I'm just going to glue the wings down and then add some foam adhesive strips over the back. I was also curious to see how well things would adhere to the gloss, and you guys know how I love my adhesives. Fine. There was absolutely no difference. The whole tag is really shiny and it's really pretty, and I'm totally in love with these sprays. I think that they're going to start showing up in a lot of my gel prints with her heavy bodied acrylics. So there's a still shot of the tag, and thanks guys. I'll see you next time.